I just have things, I always have thoughts. There's always things I'm talking about. And it doesn't matter. Depends on whoever gives a shit. This is, um, I am going to talk about addictions. And I've been thinking about, Daniela. I thought about this before. I've thought before that I don't think cold turkey leaving addictions is beneficial to me. I was like, that doesn't seem efficient and all of that because if I think about it, um, the purpose of addictions is to distract you from your own beliefs of shame for yourself, and that's how you create the isolation. So to immediately go cold turkey means that you shame yourself for having an addiction, which makes it build it's like transplants where the shame is in the first place. But I guess I'm talking about it now because I saw Daniela, the knitting cold lady. I listened to her stuff because she's pretty awesome and she knows all the shit from all of her experiences with cults and all that. And she finds it that AA is a cult in itself as well as being, military being a cult as well. I grew up a Mormon, um, so I did have um, a a cult. Um, when I'm out of it now, I know. Oh shit! I can see what creates a cult, or I can understand how it looks when you leave it. Not, I'm not an expert or anything. I'm just also a person with experiences. I'm bringing this up because I've had addictions, but they were not substance. They were not substance at all. So it's complicated because I do not have any history with AA. This is another version of my disclaiming, as in I'm building my own speech without. I'm ultimately trying to protect myself from people being mean to me for anything I say. So I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to talk. If you don't like it, leave. Sorry, this is me building my own boundaries. Everybody has to try shit as it goes. So let me tell you about things. Um Growing up a Mormon and a true blue Mormon for my young adult life. Probably I didn't leave until age 20, I think. Excuse me, I ate dinner. I ate lunch. I have so much to do today. I have a few things to do today. I just did my coding and that shit was I just fucked it up and I'm like I made it worse and I hate that. When you have a anyway, so I grew up Mormon, believed at that shit, and lived my life with its rules. Part of their rules is to limit your consumption more consumption because they did that with their media as well as your diet as well as your sometimes you would limit your interaction with non-Mormons and all of that. They had a more us versus them, and it was us versus the world, us versus the rest of non-Mormons. Non-members is what they would have said. So yeah, I see now that you build a lot of community in a cult, and ultimately you have a lot of I don't know, I learned certain skills while I was there. Ultimately, what I'm going to refer to is my own addictions, which were very limited and very non non-health issues, okay? Um it's just video games, right? Think what you want. So the reason why I only had addictions to video game is because I was a true blue Mormon. I did not drink coffee. I did not drink alcohol. I did not really smoke very much, or especially weed. I tried it when it's complicated. I'm not doing that one. Anyway, for the most of my adolescence to early adult, I did not have coffee, booze, weed. So I didn't have any knowing how to do any of it because I didn't do any of them. So I didn't have a starting point. I actually didn't start drinking until I was probably like 24 or something. Well, maybe 23. Maybe I don't know. It was after mm, maybe not. Maybe 22. I don't know. But I didn't start drinking until I was past 21, and that I hadn't started drinking a lot until much longer. So I have ADHD, I have autism. Am I diagnosed? No. Guess what I'm diagnosed with? OCD, bipolar 2. Bipolar 2, I took a med um that I had for like probably ever since I was there for college when I was about 19 for a year, and I started taking meds then. Um Maybe I am bipolar 2 cuz I did try Prozac and I did get worse and more suicidal, so they assumed I was bipolar 2. It's still applicable. However, I did get a bipolar med. It was the bipolar med was lamotrigine, Lamictal. And I tapered myself off because I couldn't afford it like last year, probably almost a year. I tapered it off to which I did not have any bad side effects or bad withdrawals. The withdrawal I had was a nasty headache because it was about 8 years that I had it, basic, and I was doing like 150 milligrams, which is the usual. They do it from 50 to 90 usually. So I had like significantly more meds and all of that. I had OCD meds that never would have worked, and I couldn't afford those. So I would do like 1 or 2 months of an OCD med that didn't implement me at all. And the um so when I didn't get anything from the OCD med. When I tapered off the Lamictal, that I didn't have any negativity, self hate, and I didn't feel suicidal when I was tapering myself off, which I know how to taper well, and I'm used to it because I had to try so many different meds that I haven't had an issue at all, moods wise. Um, the most of I do have mood issues. It's for PMDD, which I'm not diagnosed for that either. But yeah, if I have acne, it means it's the other half of the month that I get bad acne, which is more common for autistic people. I don't care what I'm telling you. Nobody actually looks up what they want to know. If you want to know stuff, look it up. I figure out stuff when it happens. I look in for articles when I see something there so I can find it online. I don't use AI anyway. Once again, I'm defensive, and now I'm trying to defend myself because I'm expecting people to be assholes and just assume me to entirely teach them way more than they would have gotten from any YouTuber. So I'm at this point of my life to realize that I do have autism and I do have ADHD. I knew that because when I have coffee, it gives me focus, but it doesn't give me energy. It gives me motivation, not anything else. So I can go and hold weeks, days to weeks, thinking on a chore, thinking on something I'm supposed to do that I can't get to until I'm like it takes, I say, 7 to 9 business days for my brain to get to it because I don't have the dopamine from it or serotonin or whatever they say. So ultimately, it just marinates until I can get to it. So that and the coffee. So I know the ADHD is there. I know that the autism is there because I didn't suffer from the tapering off my meds, and also people just hate me generally in public. Um, I've gotten to fire so many times on my jobs, any job ever, that there's only a few of times where I wasn't fired, and it was because it was a very specific job where I had less expectation for customer service for whatever reason. I'm very good and I'm very friendly in person, and anyway, so I know that I have these. I do not have a diagnosis because I am a woman and because I high mask, because I'm in survival mode based on the way people perceive me. I read it and I also read energies and all of that because of the way I have to survive to understand what people are going to treat me. Um so I have the autism, I have the ADHD, and the world doesn't have space for me to be exactly as I am. So I'm having to mask my whole life, which is draining and makes everything horrible to exist. And when you get home, there has to be something to give you something to let go of what happens during the day that you're not going to get as an holistic person or a neurotypical person. So I would have had a substance had I not grew up with Mormon and I actually believed in that stuff for much longer. So I didn't have use, I didn't have a, a, a history for starting up the substance before anything. Um, and and I want to say that I don't have the substance addictions. The thing that I did at the time would I would spend hours on hours at video games, um because it would make me feel better that it was more of a dopamine because it was mostly mobile games, so it's a bunch of Hoyoverse games, and these things were easy because I can um process. It wasn't really process, it doesn't count, that it's a distraction from any of my issues with all of that kind of type of stuff. um it's because I hold the shame of being autistic and ADHD because the society treats me a certain way. At that point of my life, my survival mode was that the shame is valid, and the isolation of such a thing was also valid. So the only way I can make that palatable of an existence is to take something to distract myself from the belief of the shame that the entire society has provided for me. So I'm having all of these video games for years and years and years. I'm spending money for it over time. Um, I probably were playing these games. I know I was 22, maybe 23, for probably 5 years. That I want to say between $3,000 to $4,000 over time through all of the Hoyoverse games. Or it was mostly it was those with High 3 and Genshin. I didn't even and then it was just too much. I still was playing the video games and I was still trying to keep buy skins sometimes, which isn't really buying skins. You buy bets, you buy a little bit more gamble for so you up your rate for the gamble because it's a gacha game. So I was still spending whenever I had enough money to it. Um, just and I do not want to shame myself based on any of that because I mean, this is the only way I was surviving at that point. And it was the least um harmful to my body. It did have harm to my body because it was more uh there was no exercise, there was no um you know going outside, there was no that. So you do have limited activity of your body and all that, but it's not the same as a whole ass substance that literally alters your body. The alter of the body would be um, no health habits at that time. I still would. I always brush my teeth before bed and all that, so I still had. I always had that habit, regardless of that. Even though people usually have um, hygiene issues, I still have hygiene issues. I always have hygiene issues. Um, but I maintain my teeth always. And the late I did actually go many days without showers. Now at this point, it's probably the longest time I go is 4, but usually it's between 2 to 3 days between a shower, and I'm okay with that. Ultimately, I went. So I spent like probably 5 years playing these games, maybe 6, maybe more, because I feel like I stopped playing them last year. Last year, maybe. Um, I I didn't plan on stopping the games. I just was feeling more better about who I am as a person, that I was like, I was deciding, you know what? It's just a game, and I don't need to have it as often as I'm used to. So I can spend days without, because with the gacha games, they have a lot of dailies. There's always events, there's always shit going on, that there's expectations or things that you're supposed to always go to. So probably like most of those games, like probably it was 1500 for High 3, 1500 for Genshin, and then the rest is for the variety of um Honkai Star Rail, and I didn't spend any money for Zenless, I don't think. And I just didn't even like it that much. the I told myself, you know what? Uh, I can go have certain days without it. If I don't need to do dailies today, I might go and do it tomorrow and go see what is there. And so I went without expecting to shame myself if I still play it. I was just saying, you know what, if I don't want to play it or if I'm not feeling it, then I don't have to. And because at this point, I at that point I had accepted the autism and the ADHD for about a year. Mm, the autism for a year, the ADHD for about a half a year. That I was accepting for who I may be, and that it doesn't have to be horrible to be autistic, horrible to be ADHD. That it's just a part of me, and I don't have to be hating myself because of the way the world sees me. I'm letting myself to unmask over time, which takes a very long time to get used to accepting who you are and letting go of the shame that the entire society creates for you, like a whole bunch of labels. Labels can be useful. um it's more of like society doesn't accept um any other than a very specific rule that they have for holistic people. It's I know it's capitalism that really fucks us all over. Um, but holistic people, oh, I don't even want to deal with neurotypicals. It's just a lot of shame for people who are mentally ill or mentally different or mentally disabled. Whatever term they're thinking about, as in not like neurotypicals, not like healthy humans, as what they rule as, then the rest of the world will not support that. Unless a person like the for the general of the whole society. So if I take to a point that, you know what, Society is not going to give a shit. Society will not provide a safe haven for me. Society will not provide me any accommodations to school or a job because I'll be fired without them saying about autism. They always have unable to say, "Oh, it's labor shortage," or "There's too much labor. I can't afford labor." Anyone can fire you for being autistic just because they can use anything. There's no way to prove anything. It just sucks because they don't want to give you accommodations or they just straight up don't like you because you speak differently. Even though I know that I worked very well. My efficiency would be better than the usual, and I would clean more than the usual because capitalism and all of that, they expect the cheapest, fastest options, which means that they don't care about cleanliness and um, they don't even care about efficiency so much as they want something fast as fuck and convenient as fuck. It's not efficiency. Efficiency has multiple things to factor into the best bet. They just want the cheapest, which means spending less time there. Time is money. Blah blah blah. Um so I was like, I'm gonna be fired ever anyway. Society is not going to provide me good shit right now. So fuck it. You know what? I don't have to hate myself anymore because people who will want to give a shit about me will find time to meet with me. And I'll probably figure out ways to have other jobs that I can figure out things that would be more accommodating for autism or straight up finding things that I can find abundance within community. So that's what I'm thinking of now. At that time, I was like, I might as well. It must have been subconsciously that I realized I can be who I am, that I don't have to mask as much because then I was like, oh, it's draining to play all these dailies and all these events. It's way too much. There's so much story on all these 4 games. I didn't really use like I couldn't even finish all the quests on Genshin for like a full ass. I never finished Genshin, okay? Mobile games are not what you want because they go forever and they're always for extra more money. You probably want cheap video games on an actual console. I couldn't afford a console. So I accepted to not shaming myself for being neurodivergent. Subconsciously, I'm accepting myself for who I am, regardless of the way society views me. And I don't need to spend as much time masking. I'm accepting who I am, which means I don't need to be isolating from anyone specifically. It's not to distract myself, it's just doing things that I would like without having to expectations of the entire public. So at that point, I was like, well, I don't even need. It'll be there tomorrow. If I want to play video games, I can try it tomorrow. I didn't even create a shame. I already had the shame of video games. I know that video games are bad and they count as an addiction. I spent all that money. I also had the cheap bastard point of view where guess what? I don't want to waste all my $4,000 that I've spent on all of this, but you know what? Saved my life? Sure. It's just money. That money let me live, and I could have spent the same amount if I was smoking cigarettes. I could have spent the same amount with any type of substance, any type of booze. And you know what? That is okay. The amount of money was something that I needed to keep myself from KMS. That's okay. If I needed that option to distract myself from doing something to put me to an end, there's nothing to sneeze at that. So I don't want to have people who are still having substance or video game or whatever addiction you have, gambling, whatever. I don't think you have to immediately cold turkey because you are telling yourself that your addiction is a shameful thing. But you're not getting to the core of the reason why you had shame in the first place. Because I know that the shame is based on my neurodivergence. It means you probably have things as your own shame from things like trauma, also neurodivergence, job loss, grief that you're not able to process. So it's a version of distraction and a way to isolate because you assume that people will shame you again. So it's not even just shame that you create. The only time we have shame is because others do. We wouldn't really give a shit. We wouldn't really give a shit about shame on ourselves because we get it formed from your entire society. It's all back to Catholicism, Christianity, capitalism, and white supremacy. They create this a lot of shame based on their own real sadistic rules just to put people in boxes. And you can't have a box unless you tell people about the rules that go for it. So your shame is not yours. People threw it on you. And they said you're not deserving because of this, this, and that. And here you go, swallow it, hold it in your body forever because we don't want to see you this certain way. And the whole society is dealing with their own shame because the whole thing is a revolving door of everybody's be a bullshit of shame that ultimately you don't even want to deal with it. That's even a sex shame. Like, ultimately, a lot of sex is very shamed based on the Catholicism and Christianity, and you're just a human being. Most of it, and even if you're gonna get to the shame and the um, addictions for sex that would be things that would be non-consensual, even those people have shame that they hold in their bodies too, because there's not a pedo who's not someone who had it as a kid, so they're holding the shame of being abused. A lot of people don't know how to handle abuse, and that's abuse from society, abuse from literal things that happen to you, abuse from everything. It's nothing but a revolving door. And so if you take that same shame that you don't deserve to exist, and you're just transferring that same shame to say I am also shameful for being addicted. So you're not going to get to your core because you just have moved the section of your body to a fucking another one. You're still there in shame. And so it's not going to give you good options to get to the real core of why you think you are ashamed in the first place. And you don't need to be shameful. You're still a human being. And part of it is learning, growing, and all of that. Shame is the most inhibitor that you will never get to anything you want to get to, ever. Because it's shame, like, you are just a human being. If you don't accept mistake, then you cannot grow. Because if you believe that every mistake is be all end all, you will never be able to expand to anything else. And so don't I grace for yourself is probably what will save you to let go of the shame and to let go of any addictions. I still think about the video games, and I kind of wish I had a console that I could play it, but ultimately, I don't need it. I think about it, but I'm thinking about other things. I'm spending more time with people. I'm talking to community. I don't feel isolated anymore just because I accept for being autistic, ADHD, queer, fat, all of it. I'm okay. I am okay. If I want it someday for actually doing it without distracting myself, sure, but I don't know that I ever will. I don't even know that. I'm okay with if I do it again, if I don't. I'm okay with either way. I it started with I was like, okay, well, there's dailies. I might do tomorrow. And I did it. I would do like, oh, I haven't done it in a few days. I guess I'll do dailies. And then I'd spend another few days between. And then I just fucking stopped. And it can take you whatever it is. You know, even just taking a few days or even a single day between a substance already gives your body an option to heal. And if you're accepting that, you know what, if it's a mistake, sure. If I'm getting to the core at some point, sure, but I'm a human being. I'm allowed a mistake. I'm allowed to take time, and there is no ultimate speed that I need to do. It's not a race. It is what it is, and I don't need to put shame in a different box. Then I can just get to whatever it is. And I don't want you to feel ashamed based on any addiction you've ever had because you've been ashamed for other things and it's very pointless that you know what, you're fucking human. If I mean, you'll just if you just trust more on your body and believe in yourself and just accept being a fucking human, you'll feel better. You'll see, you know what, guess what, shame is everywhere. I don't have to expect perfection of others, so I don't need to be expecting perfection of myself. You're not going to get a great person over there because they're going to have their own issues. Why do you have to give yourself as much no grace and no option for mistakes? Let it be. Take your time. And when it happens, it happens. We all have our own speed, paths, or um, time for each of these forms of health, healing, growing. You're no one else. You are just you. Breathe. Take your time. You got time. Don't sweat it. Sure, you're gonna die. Soft nihilism, all of that, but you still have time. There's still time. Don't don't fumble yourself. Don't make it too fast if you're just gonna do anything wrong. It's like I don't know. Just know where the shame is. Accept your own time. Accept your own mistakes. Hold it as not even another point of shame. Of course, there's a lot of shame from video games that I always like. Oh, people are gonna always hate me no matter what. It always made me do more video games because then I'm like, I don't even want to talk with you if you're gonna hold shame on me. If I'm gonna get all this shame for being fat, I'm like, well, fuck. What is the point? I don't give a shit about being fat. Fat is so simple. It's shouldn't be something we all expect from everybody to not be fat. Is what it is, man. I do not think that my body is not it's just what it is. It's just my skin. It's just this iteration. I have this body. Is what it is. I don't give a fuck. So anyway, um whatever your beliefs are, go ahead. Be a human being. If this offends you, wow. I'm sure that addresses your shame real bad, huh? You know exactly what you're dealing with, I'm sure, because now you're offended that someone is telling you that you're allowed to make mistakes. Nothing I can do for that. Take time. It's okay if you're offended now. You're not going to die tomorrow. You have time. It will make sense when you stop hating yourself. Nobody does that overnight. Cold turkey is not good. Give yourself time. It is what it is. There's that.